Hello, everybody. Welcome to Center Shot on Cereal. We are excited to have you today. And Chandra, what are the life skills and the mission mandate or grand challenge that are part of this lesson?
Okay, so the mission mandate that we are going with today is citizenship and leadership, and actually trying to learn about that through our service project. And so then the life skill that we are working on is service learning and how we can serve others.
So we have a question for all of you. What is your favorite kind of cereal? Let's have you put that in the chat. What is your favorite kind of cereal we want to see?
Captain Crunch, Golden Grams, Oats and More. Marshmallow Fruit Loops.
Chandra, what's your favorite kind of cereal?
Cocoa Puffs of all things.
All right, so we got some people agreeing here. Cheerios are mine. I like how they're a little bit lower in sugar. I appreciate that. So as I asked your favorite kind of cereal, go ahead and tell us about you.
I'm Chandra Plate. I'm the 4-H shooting sports specialist at Kansas State University. And I also serve on the national committee for 4-H shooting sports as of January 1st of next year. So I'm pretty excited about that. I got to go to my first meeting last week. And I also am a level 3 coordinator trainer with Tammy Stewart.
Awesome. And I'm Tammy Sturr. I am a volunteer from the great state of Nebraska with 4-H, and not only volunteer locally doing a lot of camps and things, but also with our state ambassador program. And I have the great honor to serve with Chandra and 2 other people as level 3 coordinator trainers for our nation. So excited to be here today. And we need to give a shout out to a club who inspired this idea today. And no connection to Chandra happening to do this. They are from Kansas. And so we did a combined training in Nebraska with Kansas, a leader training. And I met a leader by the name of Brad Kerr, and he was going through a coordinator class. And this program today, we are going to talk a lot about maybe things you could do over the holidays with your club. But we all know that tons of people are doing food pantry type of drives right now. And so this spurred this idea to do what you're going to find out in a minute is a cereal drive in the months of January and February. But what happened is Brad was telling me about how they do a cereal shoot. And I'm like, oh, that is such a great idea. And so thanks to Polly and Brad and everybody that shared pictures from their club and inspired the idea that has kind of launched where Chandra and I are going to take this with you today. So our life skill for today is service learning. So we take this directly from Iowa Life Skills.
Yep.
And the big thing about volunteering versus service learning is in volunteering, it might be simply, hey, this needs to be done. Could you go do it? But in service learning, we really come up with that experience. Wow, there's a community need and there's something we could do about it and help it out. And so that's what I see as a difference in volunteering and service learning. Chandra, what's your thoughts on service learning versus volunteering?
So service learning to me is all about learning how to see needs in your community and figuring out how to meet those needs in your community. And so when we volunteer, a lot of the time they already know the needs and they know what is they want to do and what's going on. But when we're doing service learning with youth, we're helping them learn how to conduct a service project and find out what those needs are and how to meet those needs. And so that's where service learning, the feet meet the pavement. So
I found when there's a 4-H club I was working with, because I used to be a county staff person, and they noticed all the trash from McDonald's going out to the interstate. And when they picked up their Sunday trash, like 4 times a year, and they're like, this is ridiculous. Like, we shouldn't have to pick up all this trash, and it's all McDonald's. Like, what do we do? And so they actually went to McDonald's and started a campaign and got more trash cans put between the drive-through and where you enter onto the main road. And so that was volunteering, picking up trash, that turned into service learning, where they identified a need and actually came up with a solution. That was kind of fun to watch have happen. And you'll notice in our lesson plan today, that's a big part. So success markers. So for those of you that are evaluating or wondering, like, where can we go with this? Just a reminder, a success marker starts with identifying that skill, that attitude, behavior that you want to see. And so service learning is what we chose. And so what do we expect to see is youth donate cereal. So when they come to shoot, maybe you have that as, instead of paying dues that night or whatever you're doing, that they bring a box of cereal. We like to see youth collect cereal for donations. So it's more than just cereal coming from home. It's getting more of a community involved. And we love to see youth tell the story of why cereal is important to people living in poverty. Chandra, take us away on success markers for our grand challenge.
all right, so success markers in citizenship are helping them understand how to lead a service learning project. And so what we would expect to see is that the youth work with their club members to make targets. What we'd like to see is that the youth make a target to share with others. And what we'd love to see is for them to design a target that they share with others.
And so in the lower left-hand corner here, you can see the Fruit Loops attached to a BB gun target. And that is what they're shooting out again. Thanks again for Scott County 4-H Shooting Sports for sharing that photo with us. Much appreciated. So poverty is an interesting dynamic in our world, because at the same time that we want to help people be able to find their way through life and be able to provide for themselves, we also know if you're hungry, nothing else matters. And if your body doesn't have the fuel that it needs, you're not going to have the drive, or frankly, even maybe the stamina to be able to go do anything. So when a person of poverty has whatever dollars they have in their hand, if they have any, it's always going to go towards food first. And so a lot of people are like, oh, let's donate milk, let's donate butter, let's donate all these things so they can cook with. Well, if you don't have electricity, then you're not going to have refrigeration. And if you don't have refrigeration, then your milk is going to spoil and it's a waste of donation. And that's why one of the reasons we came up with cereal. The other thing that I learned going through Bridges of Poverty, and that is my go-to book when studying poverty by Ruby Payne, is that's great if you donate a can, but if it doesn't have a pop top on it, then now you have to have a can opener. And so if you're donating canned food, also think about donating can openers and not electric can openers. Because again, if you don't have the electricity to run them, it's not going to be able to help that person that needs to get into that can. And then canned foods that don't have to be heated up are best. And tomato soup, they'll eat, you know, if you're that hungry, you'll eat tomato soup cold. So just consider, like, what else would I need to make sure that the food actually is going to get into the person's body and sustain them. And then also think about foods that you're able to chew. I like to buy granola bars and hand it out to homeless people when I'm in bigger cities. And I went and got a crunchy one and I handed it to this lady as I walked out of the local CVS. And she's like, how would I be able to chew that? And I'm like, oh, so now I always buy soft granola bars for people when I want to hand it out on the street. But also consider low sugar foods, because if I'm hungry, I'm going to buy food before I buy toothpaste or a toothbrush. And so how can we help people maintain as much as their teeth so they can be healthy and eat that we can? So those are some things to consider. And please, as you're presenting to your 4-H club, look up your own facts or have them go on a fact-finding mission about this, or talk to your local food bank. Chandra, what would you like to add on poverty?
One of the things that I added to the lesson, and you probably haven't had time to look at that yet, but is that you can look at the nutrition panel on the cereal boxes and see why cereal is such a good good alternative for people who are in food poverty. And so think about, you'll be able to help the youth look at that and see that they're, because of all the added vitamins and minerals that they add to cereal, that helps sustain the body really well and gives them the nutrition that they will need going forward as well. And so that's why cereal is a good thing to add to that list of things that the food banks need.
And I don't know if you've ever done an experiment where you take cereal and you soak it in water, and then you take a magnet and you run over the wet cereal and it brings up pieces of iron. So you can see the iron content in there, which of course helps our red blood flow in our bodies and just prevents anemia. It's so important. But that's kind of a fun experiment that you could do as a follow-up with your broken cereal off your targets to see how much iron is actually in that cereal. Okay, so we asked you earlier, what is your favorite kind of cereal? And the reason that we chose cereal for this grand project is it doesn't require any other ingredients unless you're going to add something. You could add water or milk or something like that. But it's also, as Chandra was talking about, look at that nutrition panel. Oatmeal alone is a huge, great source of protein and fiber. And so, again, try to make sure that it's low in sugar. And these stats were taken from Spoon University, which helps people figure out how to raise food and run food banks. So let's get into the fun of this. How do we start this experiment, Chandra?
Okay, so again, we're going to use the experiential learning model just like we always do. And so we need to build a target. So we're going to shoot at a target. And then the participants are going to talk about what happened when they shot at their target. And then what about the center of the target, and if they have cereal on the target.
So as a leader, you're making up basically the first range, right, with cereal. And so here's my little range here. I actually have cereal boxes in a pyramid. And the idea is to knock off the top box without doing the lower ones. Where do you place a shot for that, depending on what you're shooting? And so that might be another way to start it. And then let's go to the next. No, I think should I do all my targets right now? Would that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense.
Okay. So, so then you're going to end up saying what could make this more fun or challenging. And so these are my targets that I came up with. We'll see if we can get close enough here. So this one says Christmas light shootout, and it is just a red yarn with Fruit Loops hanging down. So the idea is to shoot off each of those Fruit Loops. This one would be for shotgun. So this one you could use for any of your air. You probably also could use this for your 22 or even archery. But for shotgun, yes, it's going to be a stationary target. But pretend like this right here is the clay. Whoa, whoa, guess I got my cereal box down. But And so what I did is on this one, I hung a lifesaver from it with a little Christmas sticker here. And so then the idea is, yes, you may be able to break that clay pretty easy, but can you actually break the lifesaver? And of course, you could do that with Cheerios or anything like that. Okay, so now going down to the bottom, going down here to archery. So for archery, I've made an X. And so here are my Fruit Loops. I don't know if you guys can see those go down. And the idea behind this is to shoot off as many of the Fruit Loops that you can. And so I pin these up to the top here. And
I mean, we can't quite see that one. Is there a way to make it any closer?
probably, or I can do this.
There we go. Now we can see what you're talking about.
So anyway, at one point, this was an X on the archery target. So we had 4 strings and we strung them up like an X. Now it looks like a Y. And so have the young people shoot that. And the reason I'm taking that off is because my muzzle loader target, I use bottles for my muzzle loader target. And what I did here is I just took Fruit Loops and put them here and here and here. I pinned those on. I would probably use double stick tape or glue, but just because of where I'm at today and what I was using. So anyway, so this is what I would do for muzzle loader. And if you're shooting a bigger distance, what I would recommend doing is putting a bunch of the cereals together to kind of make that more obvious. If that did, I don't know if that did it for you or not, but so that's something that you could do there. So the idea is to break the cereal and of course having the young people come up with the idea of how they would set up a target, whether you want to do that in groups, meeting one of the success markers, or you actually have them go home and design it, which we had an ambassador named Andrew who went into engineering. This was his thing. Like, let him just go do his thing and everybody's gonna have fun when he comes back to shooting sports practice with whatever target he came up with. So that is my recommendation and ideas that you can take forward or as examples. So after you have them shoot the target you made up as a leader and talk about what they could do, that's when you introduce the facts on poverty. And then introduce the grand challenge of let's raise as many boxes of cereal as we can. So what could you do to raise as many boxes of cereal? And if you look here, the Scott County Shooting Sports Group, they actually invited, oh, I want to show you the picture before, because you can see here the young man is showing a policeman how to shoot. And so they invited, I believe it was the police force, EMTs, fire department, and each of those raises boxes of cereal. And then they brought them to the shoot. And then the young people got on the line and shot with those 3 different groups of people. So that becomes, who could you partner with? Who could you make a partner with to raise some donations for cereal? And then of course, go into the planning of when is this going to happen? Are we doing it as a drive competing against club members who can raise the most cereal? Or are we going to do it like our club against the police force, against the firefighters, and come up with it like that? So what's our grand challenge then, Chandra?
So we would like to see how many boxes of cereal throughout the entire nation 4-H shooting sports can raise in January and February of 2023. So if you have a 4-H shooting sports club and would love to participate, that is what we would love to do, is see how many boxes of cereal throughout the nation can be donated to local food banks through 4-H shooting sports club activities in January and February of 2023.
So again, that's when food banks start going down, right? Because the holiday food drives are over. And so what can we do to put nutritious food back in our local food banks, but yet have it be a nationwide effort. So we'll actually give you a link where you'll go in and you'll put how many boxes and your favorite picture. Maybe we'll do 2 pictures since we have 2 life skills or 2 groups of success markers where you can report out, and then we can show the nation what we are doing within the 4-H Shooting Sports Project to serve our communities and serve those that are less fortunate than us. So, comments, questions, thoughts, where's everybody at? And Julie is online, and so I don't want to put her on the spot, but she may be willing to answer some questions too regarding what they've done in Scott County 4-H Shooting Sports.
Tammy, there is a comment here that a BB will fit through the center hole in a Fruit Loop. And so that's bonus points if you can get it through the center of the Fruit Loop.
There you go. See, that's where the game comes up, right? Do you want to get it through that hole? Do you want it to break the cereal? That's what the young person is going to have to come up with as they propose their ideas for this cereal shoot.
One thing Scott County does is we have for our 1st and 2nd year shooters, they can see who is the messiest. So, you know, the focus is to hit the cereal, but maybe not the center. I mean, we always want them to try for the center, but being 1st and 2nd year shooters. And so the messiest kid gets an award. And that just gets them more focused on getting over to the center.
That is awesome. I love it. What other words would you give? I'd give best coach, especially if you're doing BB gun. You have them right there beside you and somebody loading the gun. Any other thoughts or comments on the grand challenge or ways that you would carry this out? Lori says the fudge stripe cookies work good for archery also. That is a great idea. A bigger hole than a Cheerio, and the leftovers are always well received. Clean the arrows before you do it. That is great. Any other ideas? Okay, then we are going into our second shot where we turn off the recording for us just to sit and talk 4-H Shooting Sports and all the things that we love about working with the young people in the 4-H program and specifically in the Shooting Sports Project.